Tears are rare in the House of Windsor, but this time, they couldn't be hidden. When Prince William stepped onto the pitch for what was intended to be a routine royal engagement, it was clear that something was off. His expression gave him away. His eyes appeared distant, burdened, not with tiredness, but with a silent sorrow. Amidst the cheers of the crowd, it was obvious that the future king was grappling with something much deeper. And soon, the reason behind his demeanor began to emerge. Just days before, inside the refined halls of Kensington Palace, a quiet but deeply felt blow had been delivered. In a surprising move, King Charles had chosen to withhold a long-anticipated honor from his eldest son and daughter-in-law, an honor that many believed had not only been earned but was overdue. The decision came without drama, but it was the silence surrounding it that made it even more painful. William, who had been faithfully stepping up to royal duties while his father underwent cancer treatment, had been expected to receive new powers that would signal his growing leadership role in the monarchy. Instead, that moment was denied, postponed, with no explanation offered. This wasn't merely a matter of tradition or bureaucracy. It was deeply personal. At the public event where William appeared without Catherine at his side, cameras captured the quiet but undeniable burden he carried. Her absence only made the tension more visible. And then, as the event concluded, royal watchers recalled a recent joint appearance between Charles and William, one that was marked by a lack of warmth. There was no affectionate gesture, no shared glance, only distance. The atmosphere had been cold, and the message even colder. Whispers soon circulated. Was this a sign of deeper strains in their relationship? It wouldn't be the first time. William and Charles have long had a complicated bond. Unlike Harry's open defiance, William has always been the dutiful heir, the steady force amid the family's many scandals. But loyalty has its price. Perhaps now, William was beginning to feel it. Beneath the composed surface, he might have believed that his father's trust was finally within reach, that after decades of preparation, he was ready to lead. Yet instead, he found himself publicly praised but privately sidelined. As the cameras flashed and fans cheered, William stood alone, not just in presence, but in purpose. His silence was telling, and the weight of the crown, though not yet his, already seemed immense. So, what exactly did the king withhold, and why does it matter so much to the Wales family? This wasn't a trivial formality. It was a potent symbol of power. In the royal sphere, royal warrants are far more than ceremonial gestures. They are among the monarchy's oldest and most influential tools, mechanisms that can shape markets, elevate brands overnight, and determine which businesses thrive under the crown's influence. For centuries, these marks of approval have carried immense prestige and authority. Receiving one doesn't just mean recognition, it signals legitimacy in a world where perception drives success. At the heart of the current royal tension lies this very privilege, one that William and Catherine were expected to inherit, only to have it discreetly taken from their reach. Within royal circles, these warrants are sacred. They are granted only by the sovereign or select senior royals, acting as endorsements that a brand is worthy of royal association. From fine foods and bespoke tailoring to technology and service providers, a royal warrant can elevate a company to iconic status. What makes this tradition especially powerful isn't just its history, but who has the authority to bestow it. William and Catherine were on the verge of gaining this symbolic power, seen as a milestone in their rise as future king and queen. But just as the announcement was anticipated, it was unexpectedly halted. King Charles's refusal, or his carefully timed delay, sent shockwaves through both the public and palace insiders. This wasn't a simple procedural issue. It was deeply symbolic. Charles himself had received the right to issue royal warrants in 1980 as Prince of Wales and held that authority for over 40 years. He used it to shape markets and build influence, all while preparing for kingship. Now, despite William's expanding role and Catherine's overwhelming popularity, their access to the same authority has been blocked, with no reasoning provided. When viewed in the context of royal succession, the move feels even more telling. It suggests that while William and Catherine may appear prepared, Charles is not ready to share power, not even symbolically. This decision has sparked criticism within royal circles and beyond. Was this delay an act of caution, or a display of control? Some see it as Charles protecting his legacy, while others question whether he fully trusts the next generation to lead without compromise. The impact of this decision isn't limited to palace politics. Businesses that have long aligned themselves with the Waleses are expressing concern. They had anticipated imminent endorsements, ties that could open doors to global success. Now, everything hangs in the balance. For Catherine, the consequences reach even deeper. Her influence extends far beyond royal duties. Every outfit she wears carries economic power. A single public appearance can crash a designer's website. Catherine, Princess of Wales, has become a quiet but powerful figure in global fashion. In a world where image is influence and style drives economies, she is a force of nature. Her choices set trends, build brands, and transform labels, often without her ever saying a word. This phenomenon, widely known as the Catherine effect, has shaped the fashion industry for over a decade. Her wardrobe has generated millions in sales, propelled unknown designers into stardom, and breathed new life into fading fashion houses. Yet now, with the denial of royal warrant powers, that influence hits a ceiling. And it's more than symbolic, it's strategic. Think of how brands like Alexander McQueen soared after her appearances, or how labels like Self-Portrait became overnight sensations thanks to a single outfit. Even her accessories sell out in mere hours. For these brands, Catherine's presence holds more value than a prime-time square billboard. But despite this incredible reach, she is not permitted to officially endorse any of these companies. Without the authority to grant royal warrants, her vast influence remains unofficial. Her fashion choices may shake markets, but without that royal seal, her power remains just outside the lines of institutional recognition. If you'd like this rewritten with a specific tone, journalistic, poetic, or analytical, I can tailor it further. What begins as a hushed murmur within palace corridors has the potential to echo as a commanding voice across the global stage. Privately, many brands were already setting the stage, anticipating the moment when Prince William and Princess Catherine would receive official permission to endorse publicly. They envisioned a grand unveiling filled with celebration, not the eerie silence that followed. However, King Charles's unexpected decision to pause this progression left those aspirations suspended, unresolved. This isn't merely an administrative hiccup, it's a statement. For now, the monarchy is hesitant to pass symbolic levers of influence to the next generation, even as public sentiment increasingly demands their leadership. For Catherine, the impact is especially poignant. More than a fashion figure, she has emerged as a symbol of modern diplomacy. Her image, grace, and public rapport hold immense potential for subtle but powerful influence that extends well beyond aesthetics. Today's diplomacy is shaped less by state dinners and more by presence, empathy, and accessibility. Catherine embodies these qualities. Yet, without the formal support of the crown, her ability to transform cultural relevance into sanctioned royal influence remains constrained. What she's being denied isn't just a tool for commerce, it's a gateway to broader influence. And the consequences of that refusal continue to unfold. But this issue stretches beyond commercial considerations. A deeper pattern is at play. Not even Diana, globally adored and revered, was ever afforded this power. It's a fact seldom spoken aloud, yet it resounds through royal history as a quiet rebuke. Despite her international fame, humanitarian efforts, and profound public bond, Diana was never entrusted with the authority to issue royal warrants. That privilege last belonged to a Princess of Wales in 1910. Since then, the role has remained ceremonially revered, but functionally restricted, particularly for women who've helped define the monarchy's modern relevance. Diana's legacy is a reminder, in the royal arena, public love doesn't necessarily yield institutional power. And now Catherine, equally beloved and admired, stands in the same shadow, respected but still outside the inner circle. Diana wasn't just a royal figure, she was a transformative presence. Her emotional honesty, courage, and ability to connect deeply with the public made her a threat to the traditional system. Even at the height of her popularity, her influence was tightly controlled. She changed how the monarchy was perceived, yet was never allowed to change how it operated. Decades later, that same cautious skepticism appears to persist. Catherine, whose composure and warmth recall Diana's authenticity, is celebrated globally, yet restrained by the very institution she serves with loyalty. There's a clear parallel. Both women became cultural touchstones. Both turned routine appearances into moments of global captivation. Both reshaped the monarchy simply by embodying humanity in a realm long bound to perfection. However, where Diana forged her path through bold defiance, Catherine has opted for subtle diplomacy, steadfast service, and responsibility. Yet, even that steady dedication hasn't accelerated her access to real power. The hesitation to grant her royal warrant authority reflects more than bureaucratic delay, it signals enduring reluctance to grant women true control within the monarchy, regardless of their merit or popularity. This tension is rarely voiced openly but is ingrained in royal traditions. Female royals are honored symbolically, but real authority is often withheld. It's an age-old pattern, where queens are crowned but rarely command. Despite progress, the framework of power continues to reveal its preferences. Catherine's challenge isn't merely preparing to become queen, it's about breaking a century of institutional silence surrounding her title. Yet she persists. Every initiative she undertakes subtly reshapes the rules. While she may lack the formal power once attached to her position, she is cultivating something potentially more enduring: public trust and cultural impact. And today, that kind of influence is a formidable form of leadership. Despite the withheld privileges, Catherine isn't stepping back. Instead, she's forging a new path, building a legacy rooted in impact rather than ceremony. In the slow-moving halls of royal authority, where honors are withheld, Catherine has chosen action. Her focus has turned to a profound and pressing cause: early childhood development. Not just any aspect, but the earliest years, those that science identifies as foundational for lifelong outcomes. While royal insiders debate ceremonial authority, Catherine has embarked on transforming society at its roots. She's advancing with clarity, strategy, and a growing coalition. At the heart of her mission is the Royal Foundation's Business Task Force for Early Childhood, a groundbreaking effort spearheaded by the princess herself. This isn't about photo opportunities. It's about policy, research, and tangible societal change. She's enlisted the support of major corporations, brands like IKEA, NatWest, and prominent supermarket chains. These aren't gestures of charity, they're part of a coordinated effort to implement systemic reform. Together, they're developing programs to support working parents, enhance early development, and embed child welfare into corporate agendas. In a nation where childcare costs climb and emotional health is sidelined, Catherine is stepping in where politics has failed, using the monarchy's reach not to command, but to lead. A pivotal moment came with her landmark report, a comprehensive document that did more than raise awareness. It posed a national challenge. It underscored how a child's first 5 years shape outcomes from mental wellness to economic participation. Catherine didn't frame the issue emotionally, she framed it as a national investment. Ignoring it, she argued, would carry long-term costs, financially, socially, and emotionally. For the first time, a royal figure wasn't simply spotlighting an issue but actively engineering a solution. The response was swift. Media narratives shifted. Political leaders paid attention. Parents across the UK, often exhausted and overlooked, felt recognized. Catherine struck a chord not through grandstanding, but through diligence, purpose, and sincerity. In this quiet revolution, she's redefining royal service, not through inherited prestige, but through purpose-driven work that transcends palace walls. Still, the contrast is striking. As she forges coalitions and lays the foundation for generational change, traditional forms of royal power, like the right to grant warrants, remain withheld. Yet she is showing that real leadership isn't assigned, it's earned, through action, conviction, and long-term vision. As Catherine builds momentum and offers hope, William is left to manage skepticism alone. His presence at the FA Cup final, intended as a ceremonial gesture, unfolded instead beneath a wave of scrutiny. What should have been routine, a simple tradition of handing out a trophy, became the latest moment to question the modern monarchy's direction. Something felt different this time. The usual cheers from the crowd couldn't mask what cameras around the stadium captured, a prince who appeared not just serious, but deeply burdened. As the event was broadcast live around the world, one question quickly gained momentum: where was Catherine? Her absence didn't just raise eyebrows, it ignited a storm of analysis. For a couple known for rarely stepping out solo, her choice to skip such a prominent public occasion sparked intense speculation. Was she unwell? Were there tensions brewing behind the scenes? Was this somehow tied to the subtle strain unfolding between Prince William and King Charles? The timing was especially unfortunate. Only days after being denied the royal authority they had seemingly earned, William stood alone before the nation, visibly affected and without support. Still, he carried on, smiling as expected and offering congratulations to the victors. But what truly drew attention was a message released after the match, in which William personally congratulated Crystal Palace on their historic win. At first glance, it seemed a simple, gracious act. Yet the warmth and emotional tone hinted at something deeper, perhaps a quiet attempt to show the world he still had reason to celebrate amid growing uncertainty within palace walls. To many, it read as good sportsmanship. To others, it seemed like a coded reassurance, a signal that he remained grounded, engaged, and determined. The emotional significance wasn't lost on the public. For a future king, public perception matters greatly. And for a devoted husband, standing alone at such a key moment spoke louder than any official statement. Catherine's absence felt more than logistical, it felt intentional, or at least, that's how it appeared to many watching closely. The media, royal commentators, and fans began voicing the questions the palace wouldn't. Was something more serious being hidden? Suddenly, the FA Cup final became more than a football match. It turned into a symbol, a lens magnifying the growing fractures within the royal family. A solitary prince. A missing princess. A public increasingly alert to the signs of unrest. As whispers grew louder, the palace finally responded. In a quiet but calculated announcement, Kensington revealed that William and Catherine would soon appear together in Scotland. After weeks of speculation and unease surrounding the monarchy's future, the couple's re-emergence aimed to restore confidence. This wasn't just another public outing. It was a carefully orchestrated appearance, timed with precision and loaded with meaning. The image of the future king and queen standing united was meant to reassure the nation. They smiled, visited charities, laughed with children, and posed as the portrait of calm and continuity. But behind the composed expressions and graceful gestures, questions lingered. Was this truly a moment of recovery, or simply an expertly staged performance to douse a spreading fire? To the casual observer, it was business as usual. But seasoned royal watchers saw it differently. This wasn't routine, it was crisis management cloaked in ceremony. The visit followed a string of troubling developments, a delay in granting royal warrants, increasing concern over Catherine's health, and William's solitary FA Cup appearance. Now, Scotland served as the backdrop for a quiet but powerful negotiation, not just between the royal couple, but between the monarchy and its people. The location carried symbolic weight. Scotland has long been a critical arena for royal relevance, with rising independence sentiment always on the horizon. The decision to appear there was no coincidence. William and Catherine's presence served dual purposes, reaffirming both national unity and their own roles as steady figures in a shifting institution. Yet beneath the well-managed photo opportunities and speeches, emotional undercurrents ran strong. This wasn't only about visibility. It was about being believed as partners, as successors, as a force capable of leading a fragile monarchy across uncertain terrain. Still, not everyone was convinced. Observers noted the stiffness in their interactions, the lack of spontaneity that once made them so relatable. It led to new doubts. Were they still working together through genuine partnership, or simply performing roles designed to preserve tradition? The tension lay not just in their expressions, but in the expectations they now embodied. The appearance was meant to soothe public nerves, but it stirred a darker, more complex thought. Sometimes, unity is just a mask. Sometimes, it's the calm before collapse. Behind the polished smiles, the monarchy faced a turning point that could redefine its future. If King Charles were to step down, the consequences might reach far beyond the throne. Once whispered speculation about the king's health had grown into open questions. At 76 and battling cancer, Charles now carried the burden of a monarchy in flux. The possibility of abdication was no longer distant or improbable, it felt imminent. And every day that passed without answers brought the institution closer to a cliff. Should the king step aside without fully empowering William, the aftermath might not be orderly succession but chaotic transition. The risk wasn't just emotional, it was constitutional. A vacuum at the top could fracture the monarchy from within. All attention turned to William, who already seemed to carry the mantle of kingship, executing duties, commanding respect, maintaining calm under pressure. At his side, Catherine embodied the modern royal figure the public craved, poised, compassionate, and grounded. Together, they had quietly earned the public's trust. Yet admiration wasn't enough. Without formal recognition, without titles, warrants, and the king's full backing, they remained limited, their influence symbolic rather than authoritative. And therein lay the real danger. If Charles departed without officially passing the crown's power to his son, the monarchy would be left in limbo. The public might turn to William for leadership, but the palace machinery could be too slow to respond. That gap could breed confusion instead of continuity, doubt instead of direction. In an age increasingly wary of inherited privilege, a single misstep could cost more than popularity, it could endanger the very institution. The delay in issuing royal warrants, once dismissed as a scheduling issue, now appeared more sinister. Was it hesitation? A final attempt by the king to retain control? Or perhaps a more human conflict, an inner battle between letting go and holding on? Whatever the reason, it had only deepened the generational divide and fueled the belief that something vital, something foundational, was being withheld. Still, William remains patient. Catherine continues her quiet work. And the public watches, waiting, as this royal family tiptoes the line between history and transformation. The question is no longer whether they are ready to lead. It's whether they'll be allowed to do so before it's too late. As the monarchy faces one of its most uncertain crossroads, a question echoes louder than ever. Will William and Catherine ascend, strong, united, and trusted, or be held back by a legacy they never asked for? Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. See you in the next one.